I lie there, in the middle of the forest, not seeing the dueling lightning flashing high above the trees, not feeling the drenching rain that continues to pour down on my still form. Michael! A voice cuts through my mind. So tired. Just want to lay here. Ignore it. Michael, you must listen. There isn't much time. Go away. Just a voice in my head. Leave me alone. Events are in motion. The storm is only the beginning. They sent it for you. Hoped it would kill you. They know you have a role, but they can't know how important you are, or they wouldn't have stopped there. They? Who? What are you? Quiet. There's no time. We have to wait. Oh no, Michael. You need to get up. You need to get up and get the hell out of there. It's coming. My eyes flutter open, disoriented. Can't tell how long I have been out. The storm still thrashes crazy around me. I ease myself into sitting position and gingerly asses myself for injuries. There is a large lump raised above my left eyebrow, and I can feel the sizable gash running along my scalp. Although it doesn't seem to be deep, I wouldn't be able to tell if I need stitches until I get to a mirror. A sharp stab of pain beams directly into my brains as my fingers probe the wound. So I quickly stop. Various cuts and scratches from my fall are spread sporadically over my arms and hands in action, in addition to a particularly nasty one along my left shin. My shoulder still throbs, not blinding agony that sent me sprawling earlier, but a dull ache reanimating from the deep inside the tissue. Was I struck by lightning? I don't remember hearing any thunder. Or what the hell? My head snaps up as deep as inhumane roar rises above the fury of storm, ever burring over again through the trees. The ache in my shoulder flares sharply. I suddenly remember the words of disembodied voice in my head. Still dazed, uneasy, staggered to my feet. Conclusion based on hallucination or not. Getting the hell out of there seems like an excellent suggestion. I managed to find the path and haltingly began to make my way back towards the athletic facility. The storm continues unbathed. Bathtubs of freezing rain continue to drench my shivering body. Shearing winds carry up the chill deep into the marrow of my bones. Lightning flashes periodically, lighting up the pitch sky as brightly as midday. Dizzy, my foot hits a rock on the path. The whole world lurches over as I barely manage to catch myself. The throbbing wound on my scalp, making my head feel like a bass drum. I stumble along the fast as I am able, occasionally pausing to glance behind me. If they weren't soaked through, the hairs on the back of my neck would be still standing in full tension. Impossible to see or hear anything over the fury of the storm. Some primal sense held me over to my caveman ancestors, blares a warning at me, and that I am not alone out here in the dark. The savage roar I heard shortly after waking doesn't repeat itself, but the truth I don't know. If that disturbs me more or less, if I hear it again, that means whatever made the sound exists and is somewhere in the woods with me, but at least I would have an idea where. As it stands, I hope I can unworldly sound what just another delusion brought to my head injury. But I can't imagine to shake the chilling feeling that beast is simply remaining silent, haunting me. At last, after an eternity of fleeting glances and barely avoiding falls. I finally emerged from the woods along the path. The school stadium laying before me. The electronic lights of the gymnasium, several hundred yards down from the paved walkway, burned cheerfully, oblivious to the violent events of the night. I urged my wooden legs to greater efforts, blessedly make it to my destination, throwing open the door and tumbling inside. I sit there sprawled in the facility of the entryway, trembling from the cold and fear, watching the storm rage outside. After what must be several minutes, I managed to gather the will to painfully regain my feet and to work my way through the building and down the long corridor that the faculty locker room. The building is deserted, and the silence and is making the noises and my struggling movements all seem the louder. For a moment, I wonder what the complete lack of people before remembering virtually all sports practices have been canceled in lieu during the pending week of vacation for the Thanksgiving holiday. Gaining access, I immediately moved to the row of sinks and the mirror to get a better assessment of my injuries. The bump over my eye is considerably swollen and will soon turn into an ugly-looking bruise. On the plus side, the cut on my scalp is actually more scrape than it does appear on required stitches. The cuts on my arms and hands and shin are superficial, but will hurt and itch like crazy while they heal. Suddenly seeing the past painful details, I struggle to realize the haggard, beaten-looking figure returning my stare from the glass. You've had worse, God knows. You've had worse that time. That was a lot worse. I grimace my reflection perfectly, duplicating the emotion, turning on the faucet and grab a handful of paper towels and began to carefully dab the dry blood and dirt around my cuts, not wanting to advertently open them again. Satisfied that they have closed up well enough to allow it, I strip off my wooden workout clothes, throw them onto the dryers, and stepped into the shower. I set the water to scalding. I stand under the steaming water trying to rub the kinks out of my neck. A small throb in my shoulder reminds me of the incredible pain that first sent me to the way to my current condition. Reluctantly turning off the shower head and I dry myself, wrap the towel around my waist, and return to the mirror. Although certainly cleaner and free of caked dirt and blood that previously clung to me, I still paint that terrible picture. The cut on my scalp shines red and just below my hairline. I had an enormous purple bruise now began to complete the generous swelling above my eye. I turned my back to the mirror and moved my head so I could observe my shoulder in the reflection to see the scars located there. 3 long marks extended the length of my shoulder blade. The lines are jagged due to the poor nature of the canvases where they have been described upon. Aside from the nightmares, they are only proof that I have reality of the most horrifying experience in my life. The terror and bloodshed that occurred in the middle of the Eastern Cave 3 years ago. Tonight the marks are inflamed and wet, as if I just received them instead of having them worn for so long. I just had not showered, but I am sure fresh blood would still be oozing from them. Throughout the other cuts and scrapes are closed and dried at this point, as if listening to my thoughts. Tiny red beads slowly begin to well along their length as I watch them in the mirror. Without warning, an intense pain radiates outwards towards the center of the marks. At that moment, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, all the lights of the locker room go out, leaving me in absolute darkness. Second, I heard the unmistakable sound of the main entry door closing and slow steps of someone or something entering the building. The otherwise utter silence serving to augment the noise. The emergency generator kicks in, backing up the lights into humming to life and the bathing room in the weak ember glow. I run to my locker and hurriedly to dress, almost tripping myself on my pants. Taking care, of the loosened Glock that is holstered once I have it strapped onto my ankle. I throw on my coat on, twigging at the pain now continuously radicating from the scars, and grab my valet. The whole process only takes me about 30 seconds. The holdover from years of the uniform drills in the army where the soldiers who didn't take their time to limit them are met in destinously creative punishments. I crept silently over to the locker room and gently eased it open just a crack, feeling slightly foolish. Odds are the noise I just heard was just a student, or maybe a guard Gabe sent to check on the facility. Still, I can't shake the feeling of whatever is now occupying the athletic wing with me is somehow connected to the bizarre events that have already occurred this evening. Its rival and the loss of power to building seem too timely to be there a coincidence. I peered out in the dimly lit hallway through the slit in the door. At first, I didn't see one thing, not until its eyes catch the light, gleaming a sinister shade of red. My breath catches in my throat as a wave of pure terror thunders through my body until I suddenly rigid body, my shoulder screams, almost as if badly in the woods. My mind is struck dumb. Crazed gibbering crowds out all rational thought. God, my God. It's just like that time, just like the last time that it got to be a dream, it got to be can't really be happening. I'm still unconscious on the trail from hitting my head. But it seems to be so real. What if it's not? A dream that I have to move, have to do something? Why the hell does it keep this happening to me? I'm frozen, only for a single moment, until my brain subconsciously kicks into analysis mode. The feeling of unreality disturbingly familiar, but other than the fantastic nature of my subject, it's not so different from the reconnaissance missions I've been on. 20 yards down from the hall, the creature stands on two legs that appears to be 8 feet tall. Definitely not a student, not a guard either, unless Gabe decided to try out some bionical mutants in the rotation. Other than that, it's a mere size. I can't determine any further details about the entity because of the way that the shadows seem to bend around, almost as if light is absorbed once it gets in within a yard of the creature. As I watch, it raises its head and sniffing the air. A chill runs down my spine as I realize that that's what it's doing. Its head snaps forward and its incredible blood-red eyes fixed directly on the door concealing me. Ever so slowly, it begins silently stalking down the hallway, haunch into a hunting posture, moving within the powerful grimace of the natural predator. My fight or flight response frantically iterates. Logically, I have no knowledge of the identity of the creature, and a Glock only holds 7 bullets. Something that size, it is possible the gun could be empty before successfully incapacitating it. The military doctrine drilled me into stresses, only committing to a fight. When possessing the knowledge of the enemy in initiative and a distinctive advantage. At this point, I lack all those. I reached a conclusion to conduct a tactical withdrawal. To say that I'm retreating sounds so much cowardly. Fortunately, Haverbook was all equipped from its locker rooms, with multiple exits for the use of the emergency door. Although hardly to think of my current situation as considered in their plans. As smoothly and quietly as I'm able, I gently close the door and throw on the deadbolt, locking it from the inside. I have a little hope that flimsy metal will impede the monster for more than a couple of seconds, but it will take me an opportunity to up the odds for survival. Wounds throbbing uncomfortably, and I hobble to the far side of the locker room, to the emergency exit as quickly as I can, push through the save the utility hallway. No alarm sounds, no electricians must have foolishly attached a warning system to the primary power grid. All as though if it would help me reach in time anyway. I break into a limping run towards the shining red exit. It's seemingly impossible far away. Just as I reach it, I hear what seemed to be a sound of rudely abused deadbolt shearing in two and the locker room door being thrown inward off of its hinges. I shove for the exit door, finally reaching the outside of the facility. To my relief, the storm has been abated. Throughout its wake, unnaturally thick and vicious fog has crept in, sinuously enveloping the world within the incredibly dense cloud of white and reducing the visibility to little better than nothing. I considered my options. I could try and hide somewhere nearby, but as it seems that the creature is tracking me by smell or other method, it would most likely find me fairly quickly. That means that my best bet is to try and put as much distance between me and it as fast as possible. I glance at my watch to see just how 6:15, if I push myself, I may be able to make the 6:20 back onwards over Brook. I made my decision, pain and exhaustion slowly overcoming over my rush of adrenaline. I staggered forward to the station. I really hope the bloody train is on time.